Hey guys, it's your boy Vladis, and let's make desks great again. If you know, you know. This is going to be a little bit of a different video. I wanted to read a Reddit story to you about someone's constructive feedback regarding the latest patch update of the 0.80 for Ashes of Creations Phase 2. Now, I did kind of, spoiler alert, I read this article, but I feel like there was just so much that I really appreciated from this of how they broke it down, and I wanted to give my thoughts on this. So let's just go into this particular Reddit post, and this is by Lightning Lion Star. So it says Alpha 2 update 0.80, yikes, constructive feedback. Okay, so let's get started. I wanted to share some of my feedback following the recent TTK update. We all wanted increased TTK since dying to 1 or 2 hits wasn't ideal for anyone. Completely agree. I commend that you've attempted to address this with this update. The TTK in the update feels good, but only in PvP. In PvE feels severely affected, including leveling. However, the approach feels misaligned with the systems AOC is trying to promote. Although the TTK feels better, the changes have completely broken multiple game loops at the same time. The changes have unintended consequences that disrupt key systems in the game. So when I did the PTR, whenever the TTK happened on Tuesday, I leveled a fighter from 1 to level 9, and I really didn't feel any different. Like I was still like almost like 1 or 2 shotting like goblins. Like everything kind of felt the same. Like it didn't feel. Now I haven't leveled like that low of level like on live servers now to see maybe if there were some tweaks and changes, but as far as PvE actually feels pretty much the same, but that's my anecdotal opinion so far. Let me see. So let's talk about this. So stat scaling feels disconnected. Comparing my character stats before and after the patch, the stat formulas have been heavily adjusted, which is what I thought they were going to do. I have 1746 strength, the new system, and my physical power is 236.7 compared to 721 in the previous patch with only 327 strength. Dang, dude. Jesus, this guy was stacked. Let me see. I had an epic scroll and food buff on. My point of mentioning this is to demonstrate it was easy to understand my progression. For every 1 strength, I gained 1 physical power. This dramatically increase in stat ceiling with a drop in actual impact is confusing and undermines the clarity of character progression and feels overly complicated. I really do think that they could have probably done this more simply. Again, I'm not a developer. I don't know why they decided to do a complete stat formula rework. I know that's, and again, I've always said that was probably what they were going to do. I just didn't think they were going to do it in this kind of really radical way, especially with these overinflated numbers, which a lot of people do not like. You see, I think the main issue should have been to address and focus on the following. In the pre-patch era, focus on armor / magic resistance / mentality and con scaling until the TTK is correctly scaled. The best way to test this would be to gather a group of PvP oriented players in the PTR and balance around AV8 scenarios until the defensive stats are properly reflecting the wanted TTK. Now, I kind of agree that they could have done that, but I think, and this is something I've already made 2 videos on, is that I think enchanting the way it currently stood before this update was just severely overpowered the way it was. Even plus 80 all your gear was just a huge advantage, and I think that's what they kind of wanted to scale back, and that's why I think, again, I think what he's saying here is actually really good, and this is why I was advocating for a complete rework of enchanting. Because this actually could work if they decided to say, hey, let's work on these other stats instead, leave strength, intellect, and dexterity alone, and work on buffing defensives. Because actually that really would help out several classes, especially the tank right now, especially some of the melee classes, of course, like fighter, rogue. Defensives need a buff anyway. So completely agree. So let's keep reading. Let me see. Effectively, you need to set a baseline which should be level 25, level 20 gear at epic rarity, and enchant it to plus 8. Once a baseline is set, you scale up and down the levels appropriately and retest with 10 gear at plus 8 to 10 to ensure it's scaled correctly at the lower level. I think it would need to testing to see if the defensive stats should sit and scale on the class/player itself, or if the gear itself, or a mixture of the two. Once the PvP damage is scaled appropriately, scale NPC damage given/received to reflect these stat changes. Now, I mean, again, I'm not a game developer. They probably could have done this, but I would probably have left it up. And this is why I didn't have a particular horse in this race, because I am not a developer. I'm not going to tell them how to do their job. But I think for the most part, as crazy as all this was with the stats, a lot of people, I think, it's been a positive for TTK so far. Are there still tweaks and are there still things smoothing out? Absolutely. But people do believe this is a step in the right direction when it comes to TTK. Let me see. Gear progression has been undermined. This is where I think he makes some very, very good points. And again, if you didn't catch me with Loreforge and Friends, that's the new segment that Loreforge has. I'm there with Dr. Burns and of course the whole cast of Loreforge. We were actually kind of talking about this in that segment. So please, I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to go and check out that video. So it says, I want to start off by saying I don't think level 10 gear should outright be better than level 20 gear. There should be a curve. I 1000% agree with this statement. I know once you go down to the comment section, there's a lot of people who do not like this, but I think he really explains why this should be the case. And of course, I'll give my thoughts after. Dropped level 20 gear, which requires minimal investment, is now better than best in slot level 10 legendary gear, which and I think he kind of means best in slot level 10 crafted legendary gear, which requires incredible amounts of effort and time to obtain. This is especially problematic because level 10 gear requires apprentice stations to craft, which is true, which is tied to level 2 nodes. These stations take significant time and community effort to unlock through node leveling, buy orders, and task completions. Previously, this created a rewarding game loop, grinding rare materials like Widow's Tear or Forsaken Blade, crafting, enchanting, and trading. It also acted as a money sink, which helped the economy. Now level 20 rare drops are more accessible and better, undermining all the effort put into the lower tier gear. As is, the current progression and meta in P3 will be to rush level cap and just farm dropped gear until you're able to craft capped gear, which depends on node development. All loops such as rare materials from named mobs, gathering rare materials, doing caravans to buy rare materials are now gone with this patch. So here's my thing, and I've always said this, I made a hat that said it. Steven has said this very passionately, and I'll just repeat it here. Crafters make the best shit, and anything that drops gear wise from a mob, like if there is the Forsaken Blade compared to the crafted Forsaken Blade, the dropped Forsaken Blade from a mob should actually have lesser stats. Like, even because I know there's always like an RNG with like how much stats it could potentially be, but even at the highest RNG potential roll from the dropped mob gear shouldn't even there should be like 10 levels even above that where the crafted starts, right? So it's like, again, there's other systems that are still not in there, like the whole deconstruction. I think deconstruction kits are actually available now, where you can take an item that's dropped or whatever and deconstruct it to like get some materials out of it. And there's also other systems too that I think will also play into that role. But my thing is that the game should incentivize you to craft gear. And again, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler, but in Loreforge and Friends, we were talking about level 0 gear. And how level 0 gear is just so astronomical to craft in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's just like, I feel like, especially because of how quick you go from level 1 to 10 anyway, this should be very much an introductory system, right? Like anything, like it shouldn't take 2,500 copper to level your, armor smithing or your weapon smithing to 10. That's just, it's very ridiculous. Like, now, could it take that for going to 10 to 20? That's another discussion, and I wouldn't mind it. But I think, again, from crafting a level 0 gear, everybody should feel very incentivized to craft level 0 gear. They should. And I think right now it requires way too many materials, just way too much. And And if once they can get that in a better line, you'll see more people actually start crafting some really good gear, further leveling from 1 to 10. And then, of course, now they're familiar with the system, which actually will leave them in a better way now that go making crafted level 10 gear. So let's keep reading. So progression should follow a clear and rewarding curve. Naturally, crafted level 20 gear should outperform crafted level 10 gear, and dropped level 20 gear should outperform drop level 10 gear. That's expected and makes sense. Absolutely. But within that structure, there must be room for crafted gear, especially legendary quality, to matter. I also just want to say this real quick too. I think people, especially down in the comment section, I think a lot of people still have the mindset of the static node rarity. And I think once Intrepid fixes that, people are really going to realize just how rare epic and legendary gatherables are going to be. Like, I'm telling you, like, if it's anything like hunting, hunters know how rare a heroic or even an epic animal fat is. They know. I think a lot of people have gotten very used to the static node rarity. And I think if you wanted to craft a level 10 legendary, it should be in the realm of it should be as powerful as a level 20 crafted, probably in between rare and heroic. And that's where I probably like a level 10 legendary crafted plus 8 enchanted should be around plus 20, or level 20 in between like rare to heroic, in that range. Because again, without the static node rarity, if you manage to get all of those materials to craft it, it should still feel powerful and not completely worthless. Like replacing your level 10 crafted legendary with a common level 20, that's just, bro, what are we doing? Like, that's ridiculous. Crafted legendary level 10 gear, which takes significant time, resources, coordination, artisan skill to obtain, should outperform generic level 20 gear dropped, excluding world boss loot. It should remain relevant until players gain access to the systems needed to craft and enchant heroic plus level 20 gear, which, true to the game's social sandbox design, will happen only when players push their nodes and infrastructure forward. Before this patch, players were incentivized to hunt named bosses for rare drops, gather specific high volume materials, engage with node progression and crafting stations, spend gold, time, and effort enchanting and upgrading gear. That entire game loop has been short-circuited. Why invest weeks or months into crafting a powerful item when better gear drops in hours from standard farming? Completely agree. And I think he's really blown up this issue, because I really feel like this is such an easy slam dunk for Intrepid to just literally fix the numbers. Like, seriously, like it's such an easy thing. But I think he's hammering this point home to say, dropped mob gear. And also, let's just say this too, like when the game actually goes live, like we're talking live launch, completed gear drops are going to be really rare. It only happens like this now because they're still not done with recipes. They're still not done with a lot of other stuff. So they want people to get gear, but that's not going to be the intent. The intent is going to be where it's actually going to be as common as gear drops are now. That's going to be almost as common for recipes to craft that gear, the academia set, or, whatever set you're trying to go for. The entire game. Oh, okay, I read that. If crafted gear loses value, the foundation of the player-driven economy, artisan system, and meaningful progression collapses. Core game loops have been disrupted. It discourages player-driven economy, crafting efforts. Leveling has been severely impacted. It is 20-30% lower. I can't really answer this. I know numerically the value of leveling from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, all the way to 10, I don't think that's been changed. I think he's probably referring to damage, but I really don't feel like the damage was like that noticeable especially for me. I've been doing a lot of PvE. All I'll say is that I think leveling should be slower. Like, I'm just going to say that right out flat. Like, I think maybe not in the sense of damage, but in the sense of time. Like, I think the numerical values going between level 1 and 2 should be increased, going from 2 to 3. Like, I think just going from 1 to 25, most players can do it within a day and a half. Like, seriously, like if you're a sweat, you can probably do it within a day and a half, like a hardcore sweat. If you're doing it in a meaningful, like non-sweaty time, then you can probably do it over a whole weekend, like 3 days. So I feel like the 100 hours that Steven says we're literally nowhere near that. So I definitely think that it needs to be elongated. Enchanting looks nerfed and has far less value, and the main relevance is on gear rarity. This effective gold sync is a much needed mechanic. I would like to add that enchanting also seems overtuned previously. It 100% was, and that's why I made those videos. I feel like, you know, people thought I was taking crazy pills or something like that, but I think enchanting is definitely something that needs to be redesigned completely. Like, because people don't like the way the enchanting is now because of numbers being so inflated, I just think you need to look at enchanting at a completely different way, Intrepid. You need to look at it just, what else can we do to make enchanting alluring, more attractive, and powerful, but also have that same risk reward cost, right? And this is why I made that video kind of giving my recommendations on how I think they could redesign the enchanting system. You see, without some of the core gameplay loops, there is less of a need to run caravans, as there's less of a need for gold, since you can get what is effectively BIS in a week and sit back and relax. I also feel like there's just a lot of people, especially on the virus server, that are there's literal people at gold cap. I feel like that's why a lot of people are advocating for a wipe, because there's just so much gold in the economy right now. So, I mean, I can kind of see the point. TLDR, this patch fixes the TTK issue, but at the cost of stat clarity, gear integrity, crafting, and sandbox progression. Please revisit stat formulas, gear balance with the goal of protecting meaningful long-term systems. Test TTK through defensive scaling and PTR scenario. Utilize PvP players from an NA and EU tournaments for testing. Restore the value of crafted gear. Reinforce the need for enchanting gold sinks and player driven progression. All I'll say is that I was severely shocked that they did the TTK issues within 2 PTR days and then actually pushed it out to the live environment. I was shocked. I really thought this was going to be another Rogue thing where, you know, we played Rogue a month before the Rogue actually got released, and I thought because of how big of an issue TTK is, I thought they were going to hammer more stuff out on the PTR before they pushed it to live launch. And again, I think honestly right now they're kind of hurting for PTR testers. I also know they've been inviting more and more people, but I've talked to people that actually just got PTR access and they're not really testing. They have no interest in it. Like there's people right now that aren't even interested in testing on the live environment because of the static node rarity still not being fixed, TTK still being an issue. So people are just kind of either on the verge of being burnt out or already burnt out, and they're waiting for May 1st, which is like phase 3. But just like how I've told people, phase 1, or I'm sorry, May 1st of phase 3 isn't going to have all of the things. I feel like phase 3 truly isn't going to get started until probably June or July. That's being totally honest, because when did phase 2 actually feel like phase 2? Phase 2 felt like phase 2 at the beginning of February, because you have to remember, December 20th, phase 2 launched. They were gone for almost 2.5 weeks. When January popped in, they literally took almost all of January, pretty much at the end of January, which is like the first week of February, for like the desert to really be fleshed out. So I feel like that's, again, they're not on vacation or anything like that, but I still feel like it's going to take them probably all of May, and probably in June, it'll feel, you know, almost like it's like phase 3, you know, at that time. So, all right, here's an edit. Just to clarify, I completely agree that higher level gear should outperform lower level gear. That's natural. I'm not suggesting level 10 gear should dominate level 20 or 30 gear across the board. What I'm highlighting is the need for meaningful gradual progression, especially when it comes to crafted gear that requires time, coordination, artisan effort. The current system risks invalidating that entirely if drop gear easily leapfrogs it with minimal investment. I completely agree with this. I think, again, this is an easy slam dunk for Intrepid, just to make the dropped gear not as desirable. And again, it doesn't have to be shit. Like, you don't have to make the dropped gear shit. You just got to make it where, in comparison to the crafted gear, just numerically better. If I, as a person, don't have all the materials to make a bracer or to make a belt, and a rare belt drops, I'll take it. I'll equip it. You know what I mean? I think that's the whole point, right? We just don't want that very easy, I showed up to civilian, I got the belt within 30 minutes and now I'm good, right? I don't got to interact with the economy. I think people always are seeking the best. And if it's something that's suitable, because it works in the time, great. But at the same time, if you're looking for the best, that belt technically isn't the best, and it shouldn't be the best. And I think that's kind of the point he's trying to say. Let me see. There should be a balance where crafted gear is competitive within its tiers and remain relevant until the next tier becomes reasonably accessible. For example, level 10 legendary +8 should be better than level 20 blue rare unenchanted. Yeah, I agree with that. Level 10 legendary +8 should be equal to level 20 blue +8 legendary +8 should be outclassed by heroic and epic level 20 gear as it is enchanted and progresses. Yep, 100%. Because again, if you don't consider static node rarity and actually consider, every time you go into a gathering node and it's always going to be different every time, you don't know what the rarity is. There's not a way to actually seek out the legendary materials the way you currently do them now, which is basically log in and out every 2 to 4 hours. Like it's going to be hard. It should have been way harder, of course, but people like to game systems. But think about that for a second. How much time it would be to even get 20 of a material at legendary. And if it's just invalidated because now you're over level 20, well, shit, I guess I don't need that. I don't need that thing anymore. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that it needs to actually, like I said, curve into the next tier, which is level 20. Let me see, just an iterative example. I'm not suggesting these numbers exactly. The goal is to ensure that there's a curve, not a cliff. Players who invest in hunting, name mobs, crafting, processing materials, enchanting, leveling up artisan skills should feel rewarded, not bypass but lucky drops from easily farm mobs. If the answer is always, I'll just wait until your max level and farm gear, then the entire crafting, enchanting, and economy loop collapses. 100%. And I think honestly too, what also makes it kind of interesting right now is that people are just level 25. What's going to be really interesting to see, because I think what's going to end up happening once let's say we have all 50 levels to level, is that I think most real high-end players are going to probably just craft uncommon gear, because those players are so good. They don't need to craft the best of the best, like as they're, because they're going to be probably leveling so quickly compared to the normal people that they can do it within uncommons or some rares, you know what I mean? Like sprinkled here and there, and be totally fine. So I think what's really going to take the economy for that spin is the casuals that take, leveling from 10 to 20 could take them 2 weeks, right? And this is a person who could potentially be playing maybe like 2 to 4 hours, like every day, right? So like, you think of the dad or whatever that, gets home from work, whatever, he has dinner with his family at 6, maybe from 6:30 to 8:30, he'll go and play Ashes and do that every day. He might hit level 20 and, and again, that's not even considering him grinding every single day. That's just him playing the game, right? Depending on what he might want to do. Like I said, it'll take him time. And I think that's where the whole journey begins, right? That's where, people have become so, indoctrinated by websites and guides telling them exactly what to do, exactly where to go, the most efficient grinding spots. It wasn't like that back in the day, man. When I was playing vanilla WoW in 2005, I had no earthly idea what the hell I was doing. And so I really hope that people can get to a point where that's okay. And if you are a hardcore sweat and you're going to look up a guide, that's fine, right? Like, but I think overall, Ashes shouldn't feel pressured, or you shouldn't feel pressured to level as quickly as possible, obfuscating the journey that could make like almost like reliving your nostalgia a little bit, right? So I don't know. Like, all I'm saying is that there's still many changes that needs to happen going into phase 3. I'm really curious. I actually might be doing a video next on kind of like my overall review of phase 2, and the good, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And just kind of give my thoughts and opinions as to like how phase 2 kind of worked out, and hoping what I'm looking forward to in phase 3. So guys, what do you guys think about this? Did you like this Reddit post? Like, do you agree about dropped gear not being better than crafted gear? Do you think that there should be a curve going into the next tier? Please leave me your thoughts down below in the comment section. I would love to know. And of course, if you're looking for more Ashes of Creation content, hey, hit that subscribe button. I always make Ashes of Creation related content. So I will see you hopefully on the next video. So take care and have a good one.